shot. He's got less than 30 seconds to go to make it. The clock is in sight.
He is driving his arm.
He's got 30 seconds left for world record performance.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna get it. He's gonna do it.
A new world record.
He's gonna do it.
Alberto Salazar. 2:08:13, the New York City Marathon.
In the world of running, one event stands above all others. It is the ultimate test of mind and body. It is called the marathon. Each year, thousands of runners from all over the world enter these torturous 26-mile races. The prevailing thought in the mind of most is simply survival. But Alberto Salazar ran this event not merely to survive, but to win. In 1980, Salazar shocked the running world by winning the New York City Marathon, his first attempt in a marathon. He went on to set a world record and established himself as one of the most dominant distance runners of all time. At the La Costa Hotel and Spa in Carlsbad, California, Greatest Sports Legends host Steve Garvey spoke with Alberto about his career.
Alberto, you're a famous marathoner, but originally you were a 10,000-meter man.
Right. I think that a lot of the top marathoners nowadays are going the same route. It's being found that you run best in the marathon if you've prepared yourself for years beforehand in shorter events like the 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters. And this is true actually in all the running events. Your best 5,000-meter runners are now runners who were milers before that and have moved up. Your best 10,000-meter runners are ex-5,000-meter runners. You're always better off having the speed in your legs and then moving up, just adding the extra strength work and moving up a distance than vice versa. So I really concentrated on the 5,000 and 10,000 meters in the early part of my career because my coach and myself, we both thought that it was going to be better for me in the long run. Even though the marathon was going to be my best event, we knew that that would be where my strengths would be most evident. We knew that I still had to concentrate on the shorter events, get all the speed that I could, and then move up, and then I'd have that advantage.
Over 14,000 runners entered the 1980 New York City Marathon. This would be Alberto Salazar's first attempt in a marathon event. Despite an obvious lack of experience, Alberto boldly predicted that he would win and that he would break the course record.
During that 1980 marathon, some of the critics unfortunately used the terms cocky and arrogant. Your comment about that?
They called me cocky and arrogant because I was naive and came out and said exactly what was on my mind. And they asked me how fast I thought I could run my first marathon. And I felt that because of the way my training had been going, that I could run a 2:10. And when I said that, I had no idea how that was going to be received. And when I said 2:10, a lot of people almost burst out laughing, and they felt like it was almost a blasphemy that I dare to say I was going to run the fastest first marathon ever, and that I could be competitive with runners like Bill Rogers in my first race ever. And yet that's what I honestly believed, and I just didn't see any reason to be overly humble and to say 2:15 when I really felt I was going to run 2:10.
The New York City Marathon begins on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge and winds its way through the streets of each of the city's 5 boroughs. It is truly an awesome sight. Alberto's pre-race strategy called for him to remain within striking distance. After 15 miles, he was exactly where he wanted to be. 20 miles into the race, Alberto and Rodolfo Gomez left the pack and engaged in their own private duel. Eventually, Salazar's tremendous speed allowed him to pull away from Gomez. With the finish line in sight, Alberto realized that his predictions were about to become a reality. He had broken the course record by 28 seconds. He had run the fastest first marathon in history, a superhuman performance.
As soon as I finished, it was just a feeling of satisfaction, like I had believed that I was going to be a good marathoner, and I knew I could run a good one, but at the same time, you never know for sure until you actually go and do it. So it was good to be able to run one like that well my first time and to be able to say, yeah, you know, just like I thought, you know, this is going to be my race.
In order to succeed in the marathon, a runner must possess a superbly conditioned body and an unbreakable will. They must overcome the obstacles of pain and fatigue which inevitably occur.
To be a good marathoner, you have to learn to deal with pain, and the pain it's a different sort of pain than you get in other sports. It's more a gradual fatigue type of pain that starts to invade your whole body, and it's probably the same pain which any jogger or runner that goes out there, regardless of how good they are, feels. And the thing is, in the marathon, it's for a much longer distance, and usually marathoners or top ones have learned to push themselves harder and harder. So it's really the sort of pain which you've just got to learn to deal with that fatigue and that overall feeling of exhaustion, which makes you want to slow down or quit. But you just got to try and push through it. Got to have confidence that no matter how bad you feel and how hard the running is, that you're going to be able to pick it up at the end. And you get that confidence through your training. When you've simulated that feeling and those conditions enough in your training regimen, when it comes to that point in the race where you feel that same sort of fatigue and pain, you're going to have dealt with it before. And even though you may feel like you may have doubts in your mind, you may think, I can't keep it up, I'm going to have to slow down. You've done it before, and so you at least try and do it, and all of a sudden you surprise yourself that you're able to keep going.
The 1981 New York City Marathon. Once again, Alberto Salazar drew a great deal of attention to himself prior to the race by stating that he would win again and that he would also break the world record.
Did it put some personal pressure on you to make that prediction, though?
Yeah, the thing was that I kind of said it without really realizing at the time what I was saying. You know, I said, well, yeah, I think I can run a minute and a half faster, and I didn't bother to figure out that that meant a 2:08.
The equation, though.
Right, and once I'd said it, I wasn't going to back down because that's really what I felt. And yet, right away, I realized that, hey, you not only have to run a minute and a half faster, you have to break a world record now or you're going to look bad.
Could you feel the New York crowd pulling for you in '81?
Oh, definitely. I mean, New York crowd loves people that are confident and outspoken. Sure. And so forth. And I think they like the idea that, you know, I had done it the year before after predicting I was going to do it, and they wanted to see me pull it off again. And you know, it's a great crowd for that. If you're ready and if you go out there and aren't scared to say what you really think, they're going to support you 100%.
Alberto began this race knowing that he would have to put forth the finest performance of his life to break a world record which had stood for 12 years. His pride and his word were at stake. Midway through the race, he seemed to be on his way to accomplishing exactly what he had predicted.
Graham started to slow a little over the next couple of miles, so I felt like I had to take the lead at that point and maintain the pace which was needed for the record. And Gomez ended up coming with me. We pulled away from Graham. And about the 16-mile point, Gomez started jumping into the lead. And he would get in front of me, but then he would slow down. And then I'd pass him, and he'd get in front of me again, slow down again. So finally, I just started getting angry because I knew that I had to break this record, and I couldn't afford to let this guy keep, you know, slowing the pace down. So at about the 17-mile point, I decided I'd had enough, and I was going to really surge hard on him and just throw in a fast mile. So I ran the next mile fast, and later I was astonished to find out that I'd run about a 4:33 for that mile. And anyways, it finally got rid of Gomez.
Thousands of anxious fans gathered at the finish line awaiting the arrival of the first runner. Then, a lone figure appeared in the distance.
2:08:33 is what he's got. He's got less than 30 seconds to go to make it. The clock is in sight.
He is driving his arm.
He's got 30 seconds left for a world record
He's
performance.
gonna do it. He's gonna get it. He's gonna do it.
A new world record.
He's gonna do it.
2:08:13, the New York City Marathon.
As soon as I finished it, it was just a great feeling of, you know, having done exactly what I set out to do. And it was just the best feeling in the world to, you know, have trained hard for something and have gone out there and said I was going to do it and to do it exactly the way I'd said. And, you know, it was probably the best feeling I'd ever had in sports up to that point.
In the spring of 1982, Alberto Salazar entered the Boston Marathon for the first time in his career. He now attracted attention because everyone expected him to win. The pressure of being considered the favorite was also accompanied by temperatures which reached the 70s. These conditions turned the course into a withering test of every runner's spirit. For most of the race, Alberto trailed Dick Beardsley. Once again, he would have to push himself to the edge to prevail.
After about the halfway point, Beardsley and I started to pull away from everybody, and at that point I think I was starting to feel the heat and not feeling too chipper, so I just started to hang on Beardsley's shoulder at that point. And I can remember going through Heartbreak Hill and just really feeling bad, but just telling myself over and over again that I was better than Beardsley and that I wouldn't let him pull away from me, and that all I had to do was stay close to him, and that as we got closer and closer to the finish of the race, I knew that my chances were going to go up and up.
Alberto refused to give up in this race. In one of Boston's most dramatic finishes, Alberto surged ahead of Beardsley during the final stretch to the finish line. In winning the race, Alberto had run the fastest Boston Marathon in history. The heat and the effects of his all-out effort finally took their toll once it was all over.
When I finished the race, they brought me down into a cold garage underneath the Prudential buildings, was like the medical area, and somehow that started my body in a cooling off process, which was strange on a hot day, and my body temperature ended up going down to 88 degrees. And only after they had given me a lot of fluid through intravenous tubes was my body able to readjust itself, and my temperature rose back up.
Well, after 82 in Boston, you were the #1 marathoner in the world. How did that affect your personal life?
I wasn't really prepared for all the publicity and the demands which were going to be placed on me. I'm, I think, a relatively private person, and I just wasn't really comfortable with, you know, all the media interest and all the people on the street asking for my autograph and stuff like that, and I just really wasn't prepared for it. And for a while there, I didn't even want to go out. I didn't want to go out to a restaurant or something because I felt embarrassed, or, you know, I was aware of people staring, and I just would feel uncomfortable. So it was really hard on me for a while, but, you know, after a while I grew to accept it, and, you know, after a while I just, you know, I can notice somebody looking at me, but it just doesn't bother me anymore.
Having gained worldwide notoriety and the title King of the Marathon, Alberto Salazar sought his third straight victory in the New York City Marathon in 1982. As always, Alberto took his place among the leaders, never allowing them to relax for one moment. When a convoy of escort vehicles passed the 20-mile point in the race, it revealed Alberto and his old rival, Rodolfo Gomez. Gomez had vowed that he would not allow Salazar to win as he had in 1980.
He's going to do it. It's Alberto. He is going to win. He just looked over his shoulder.
But there's Gomez, boy. He's right on it.
He's going to put it away. What a gutty race again. How can he do it every time?
No one doesn't get away with anything. Here comes the time. Alberto Salazar up 2 and across. 2:09.27 out of victory. Gomez 31. 2:09.27. 2:09.31. Alberto, death and destruction. Gomez saying, what do I got to do? Oh, my God.
Salazar's victory made his marathon record a perfect 4 for 4. Alberto was the undeniable favorite among the New York fans. They were drawn to this bold young runner who possessed the courage and the ability to back up every one of his statements. It was a proud day for the entire Salazar family. 8-week-old Antonio joined his father on the victory stand. On this day, his father was presented with a royal award for a supreme performance. Alberto Salazar had achieved a great deal during his career, yet he did not own an Olympic medal. In 1984, Alberto entered the U.S. Olympic marathon trials. He was hoping to earn a place on the team and the chance to win a medal in the upcoming Olympic Games. Alberto was also trying to cope with his own health problems. He had developed a form of anemia, which greatly reduced his strength. Once in competition, however, Alberto knew one thing: you ran until you had absolutely nothing left. Although Alberto may have appeared brash at times, one could not help admiring his tenacity, his willingness to go beyond the breaking point to achieve greatness. Alberto would not win this race, but he did qualify for the Olympic team. His dreams of Olympic glory were shattered when he finished 15th in Los Angeles.
Alberto, you've accomplished so much, yet you've never won a gold medal. Does that bother you in any way?
Well, yeah, I'd like to run well in the Olympics. You know, the gold medal is an elusive thing. I'm going to have a lot of enjoyment or a lot of fond memories of my running, whether or not I win a gold medal. It's something which I'm still going to try for, and yet, you know, I guess I've matured enough and learned enough through the years that I realize that sometimes you're not going to get everything that you want. And the tough thing about the gold medal is that there's so much luck involved. It's, you know, on that one day, being at your best, you know, when everybody else is at their best. So it's hard to really bank on it, but, you know, I think I'll have as much chance as anybody else does.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we all look forward to the continuance of a great career from an all-time great marathoner.
Well, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.